First time, WIS is getting a look at the Columbia-based rapper arrested on federal RICO charges. 34-year-old Zachary Chapman, who goes by the rapper name Blacc Zacc, pleaded not guilty in federal court yesterday. He was arrested by U.S. Marshals and booked inside a Spartanburg County Jail this week.
On October 28, 2025, U.S. Marshals arrested South Carolina rapper Blacc Zacc on federal RICO charges, a 22-page indictment, 9 charges, allegations going back to 2021. But here's what caught everyone off guard. The feds just appointed learned counsel, and he's now under review for the federal ending penalty. We're talking about the most extreme consequence under U.S. law. Nobody saw this coming. Let me break down everything that went down.
Did you grow up in the projects or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Columbia Garden, that was a project, and then the neighborhood.
My bad, yeah.
The neighborhood, Bluff Estates.
Do you have any influences in your neighborhood to, make you believe in something other than what's around you?
Artists like Hot Boy and Boss G and all them, they was doing their thing. Like, they was some people to look up to.
Because your father wasn't in your household, or was he?
Nah, he wasn't. And my brothers and uncles, they was locked up, so shit.
It was just you and your mom?
Yeah, me and my mom.
Okay.
To understand this whole situation, you gotta know who Blacc Zacc is. Born Zachary Chapman on December 17, 1990, in Columbia, South Carolina, he's been rapping since he was 13 years old. His stepfather had a home studio set up in their kitchen, and that's where he recorded his first track, a dedication to his mother. Zacc dropped his first mixtape, first-round draft pick, back in 2010. For years, he stayed grinding independently, putting out projects like High Class Trapper, New Black City, and Black Frost. But 2018 is when things started changing. He re-released Dirty Summer, and that project got attention. Then came 2019, and everything shifted. In September 2019, Zacc signed with Interscope Records in partnership with South Coast Music Group. That's the same label home that had DaBaby, and the two artists started working together heavy. His 2019 mixtape, Trappin' Like Zacc, debuted at number 21 on Billboard's Top Heat Seekers chart. We're talking features from DaBaby, Stunna 4 Vegas, Key Glock, the whole lineup. March 2020, he dropped his debut studio album, Carolina Narco. 11 tracks with DaBaby, Yo Gotti, Stunna 4 Vegas, and Moneybagg Yo on it. Production from Young Keo, OG Parker, and 808 Mafia. The album even got a 17-minute cinematic short film that premiered on March 26, 2020. Zacc called himself the richest rapper in SC and built a whole brand around that. His personal life got mad attention too.
Cause he don't want to be on. I can't get no pictures and videos of him because his girlfriend might get mad. He's sneaking and geeking. He's sneaking and geeking.
She's crazy.
Yeah. Be like.
He like to shoot, throw shit.
Zacc's been in a relationship with rapper Rennie Rucci, who's on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. The two had a baby together in 2024, but their relationship stayed messy. In March 2025, things blew up publicly when Kevin Gates dropped a track claiming he had history with Rennie and even suggesting they might have a child together. The whole situation went down on Instagram Live.
I never cheated. That's the thing.
Who said you cheated?
Cheated.
You stupid ass. I said I ain't the one who got caught cheating in the world.
You cheated. Not me. I've never cheated. I've never cheated. You with the Roches, the Rollouts, the Sky Blacks, the all of them. It's not about a storyline. It's real life. You unblock the text her, right?
Chasing me.
Go ahead, do your thing.
Go
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I am every day.
Go ahead.
Them people don't love you on that.
You don't either. You don't either.
Zacc accused Rennie of being unfaithful. She clapped back hard, saying he was the one who cheated multiple times. Rennie told him on the live stream he'd put her out over 100 times before. She kept saying the Gates situation was old news from a song recorded 5 years ago and had nothing to do with them now. But Zacc wasn't hearing it and reportedly told her to move out. Behind the music career, Zacc also founded Dirty Money Entertainment as a record label in 2015. He marketed it as a platform for emerging Southern artists. He invested in local businesses too, including a cigar lounge in Columbia. Everything looked like a success story from the outside. Now this is when things really popped off. October 28, 2025, U.S. Marshals arrested Zacc and booked him into Spartanburg County Jail. According to the 22-page federal indictment filed in the U.S. District Court of South Carolina, prosecutors paint a completely different picture of Dirty Money Entertainment. The feds claim DME wasn't just a record label. They're alleging it's a street gang operating throughout South Carolina. The indictment states that Zacc founded and led this organization, directing all DME DME activities while sometimes delegating authority to other members and associates. Prosecutors say the gang operated primarily out of Columbia but owned several properties, including a house in Blythewood, where they allegedly conducted operations. Here's where it gets serious. The indictment details a September 2021 incident. According to prosecutors, Zacc allegedly placed a bounty on a rival gang member who he believed stole his diamond chain. 1 month later, in October 2021, that man was fatally shot and taken out.
People want to know what a RICO case is, and basically, the best way that I can describe RICO, because everybody knows about the mafia, is just organized crime. That's what it is. It's organized crime. Is when you have a crime conglomerate that's made of more than one person for the purpose of pecuniary gain, which basically is making money.
Zacc faces 9 federal charges total. RICO conspiracy, which is the big one. Murder in aid of racketeering, attempted murder in aid of racketeering, conspiracy to commit elimination for hire, use of interstate commerce facilities in the commission of ending life for hire, and multiple firearms violations during violent situations. The federal prosecutors laid out how DME allegedly ran operations, large-scale substance trap, robberies, violence in furtherance of the gang. The indictment claims Zacc directed everything, approving acts of violence against rival groups. On October 29th, Zacc appeared before a federal magistrate and entered a not guilty plea. He had a detention hearing scheduled for November 3rd in Greenville. Federal prosecutors argued he should remain in custody pending trial, and he was denied bond. As of now, he's still locked up at Spartanburg County Jail. Social media went crazy the moment news broke. The original post from Rap House TV on X got over 75,000 views within just a few hours. Fans flooded timelines with disbelief. One user wrote on X stating Zacc was too talented for this kind of headline and hoped it was all false. Another person posted they couldn't believe the feds got Zacc for such serious charges and thought it sounded like internet rumors. The irony didn't escape people either. Zacc has a 2018 track literally titled Taking Out for Hire, and fans were pointing out he dropped a song with that exact name and now faces charges matching it. Hip-hop media outlets picked it up fast. XXL magazine reported on it. Hot New Hip Hop covered the story. All Hip Hop broke down the charges. The Breakfast Club discussed it on their show. Everybody in the industry started talking. But that's not even the craziest part. Rennie Rucci's name started trending because people immediately started speculating about how this would affect their relationship. Some fans were sympathetic toward her. Others were making jokes. Most were just trying to figure out what this meant for the couple who just had a baby together less than a year ago. According to Urban Bell magazine, Rennie eventually showed some support for Zacc after his arrest, though she hasn't made any major public statements. She's not charged or implicated in any of this, but being the girlfriend of someone facing these kinds of charges puts you in a tough spot regardless. Legal experts started weighing in on why this went federal instead of state. The federal jurisdiction kicked in because the alleged scheme reportedly involved interstate communication and monetary exchange. That's a common trigger for federal involvement. When you're accused of using phones, internet, or moving money across state lines for illegal purposes, the feds can step in. Industry figures started drawing comparisons to other recent cases. Young Thug's RICO case in Atlanta, Lil Durk's situation, YNW Melly's trial in Florida. All of them involved prosecutors using social media posts, music videos, and lyrics as evidence. The hip-hop community's been pushing back on this trend for years, with artists and advocates saying lyrics are artistic expression, not confessions. Within days of the arrest, the situation got even more serious. On December 4, 2025, South Carolina news outlet The State reported that Blacc Zacc is under review for the ultimate penalty. The court appointed Bill Nettles as learned counsel for Zacc's defense. Here's why that matters. Nettles is a former U.S. attorney for South Carolina and one of the state's most prominent defense attorneys. In federal cases where ending someone's life is on the table, the law requires the defense to have learned counsel. That's an attorney who's qualified and experienced in defending capital cases. The law also requires that Nettles be assisted by another attorney, so John Warren joined the defense team. The appointment doesn't mean guilt. It's part of the federal process when the stakes include a potential ending of life sentence, but it tells you prosecutors are seriously considering it. Right now, the Department of Justice is reviewing the case to determine if they'll seek that extreme penalty. Here's how that process works. Federal prosecutors working on the case prepare a detailed packet. They summarize all the evidence, aggravating factors, and any mitigating factors. The defense attorneys can present life history, mental health evaluations, background information, and circumstances that could argue against an ultimate sentence. There's a division within the DOJ DOJ that specializes in reviewing these cases across the country. They look at legal standards, proportionality, and national consistency. Only the U.S. Attorney General can authorize seeking the most extreme penalty. This review can take many months or even over a year before a decision comes. During that time, the criminal case moves forward, but prosecutors can't announce capital intent until the DOJ approves it. The business side took hits too. Zacc built his career on being independent and successful. He claimed a net worth around $4 million according to famous people today. He'd invested over $500,000 into his career by his own estimation from a 2019 interview. All those business ventures, the cigar lounge, the real estate investments, everything's on pause now. His music streams actually jumped after the arrest, which happens a lot when artists face legal trouble. People started going back to his old tracks, especially that 2018 song with the ironic title. His Spotify shows over 104,000 monthly listeners. His Instagram following sits at over 300,000 people. All those fans are watching every development. The label situation's unclear. He was signed to Interscope through South Coast Music Group, but there's been no public statement from the label about dropping him or supporting him. That silence speaks volumes in the industry. Labels usually distance themselves fast when federal charges this serious drop. Relationship-wise, things with Rennie are complicated. They just worked through that Kevin Gates drama earlier in 2025. They have a baby together. Now he's locked up facing the possibility of never coming home. During season 12 of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, which was airing when all this went down, Rennie had talked about how they were doing everything to move forward in their relationship. Nobody expected this, but here's what most people missed when this story first broke. This isn't just about one incident in 2021. RICO charges work differently than regular criminal charges. The Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act was originally designed to take down the mafia. It lets prosecutors build a case around an entire organization's pattern of criminal activity over time. The contrast between what Zacc was saying publicly and what the feds are alleging is striking. In interviews from 2019 and 2020, he talked about wanting to put on for South Carolina artists. He spoke about creating opportunities in Columbia, where the music scene wasn't getting national attention. He positioned himself as a businessman and entrepreneur, not just a rapper. His whole brand was about legitimacy and success. Now, prosecutors are telling a completely different story about those same operations. According to their indictment, while Zacc was promoting Dirty Money Entertainment as a label, they claim it functioned as something else entirely. The properties he owned, the vehicles registered to the business, the financial transactions, prosecutors argue it was all infrastructure for alleged criminal operations. The weapons charges in the indictment are serious on their own. Federal firearms violations during violent situations carry mandatory minimum sentences. When you stack those on top of RICO and the other charges, even without capital punishment consideration, you're looking at potentially spending the rest of your life behind bars. The feds don't play when it comes to weapons charges tied to violent allegations. That 22-page indictment isn't just about one alleged situation. It's painting a picture of years of alleged operations. When the feds use RICO, they're trying to prove you ran a continuing criminal enterprise. They can bring in evidence of multiple incidents, multiple people, multiple years of activity. According to legal experts, RICO cases are notoriously difficult for defendants. The government gets to show a broad picture of an organization's history, culture, operations, and leadership structure. Even if you're not directly involved in every single incident, if prosecutors can prove you led the enterprise, you catch charges for activities done in furtherance of that enterprise. The digital evidence angle is huge in modern cases like this. Prosecutors look at social media posts, Instagram lives, music videos, lyrics in songs, text messages, phone records. Everything can become evidence when you're building a RICO case. That's why fans started going back through Zacc's old posts and music looking for anything that could be used against him. The whole controversy around that 2018 track title became a major talking point. When you drop a song with a title that matches what you're later charged with, people notice. Defense attorneys hate when their clients have content like that out there because prosecutors will absolutely bring it up. It doesn't prove guilt, but it creates an image problem when you're trying to convince a jury your client wasn't involved in what they're accused of. Legal experts pointed out that the prosecution's job got easier with every post, every lyric, every video Zacc put out over the years. The defense will argue it's entertainment, it's artistic expression, it's a persona. But juries don't always see it that way, especially in federal court where the atmosphere is more conservative than state court. There's millions of dollars involved here too. Between Zacc's claimed net worth, the alleged substance trafficking operations, the properties DME allegedly owned, the business ventures. We're talking about serious money. Federal prosecutors love RICO cases for financial crimes because they can seize assets. If they prove the money came from illegal activity, they can take everything. The timing's interesting too. The feds have been building this case for a while. According to the indictment, the investigation covers alleged criminal activity going back years. Federal investigations don't happen overnight. They gather evidence for months, sometimes years before making arrests. Wiretaps, surveillance, financial records, witness interviews, all of that takes time to compile. When the feds do bring RICO cases, they often charge multiple people connected to the alleged organization. If there are co-defendants in Zacc's case who decide to cooperate with prosecutors, that becomes devastating for the defense. The feds offer reduced sentences in exchange for testimony. These cooperating witnesses can provide inside details about conversations, planning, operations, everything. They're not random people making accusations. They're people who were allegedly right there involved. Juries tend to believe them, even though defense attorneys will hammer them for getting deals in exchange for their testimony. Sources close to the case say the feds have been building this for a while. Federal investigations don't happen overnight. They gather evidence for months, sometimes years, before making arrests. The fact they moved on October 28, 2025 means they believe they had enough to make charges stick. What people don't realize is how political these cases can get. South Carolina's been dealing with gang violence for years. Federal prosecutors in the state are under pressure to show results. When they can take down someone with a public profile who they allege is leading a criminal organization, that sends a message. The media coverage itself became part of the story. Within 24 hours of the arrest, every major hip-hop outlet had articles up. XXL, Hot New Hip Hop, All Hip Hop, Hip Hop DX, they all covered it. Local South Carolina news stations ran segments. The story spread across social media platforms faster than Zacc's team could even respond to it. That kind of immediate publicity makes jury selection harder down the line. Finding people in South Carolina who haven't heard about this case and formed opinions will be challenging. The defense might push for a change of venue, arguing their client can't get a fair trial in the state because of all the coverage. But federal judges rarely grant those motions unless the publicity is overwhelming and prejudicial. As of today, December 5, 2025, Zacc remains locked up at Spartanburg County Jail. He's been denied bond, which isn't surprising given the severity of charges and the fact prosecutors are reviewing him for capital punishment. Bond in federal cases is tough to get anyway, especially in RICO situations where the government argues you're a danger to the community. The DOJ review for the ultimate penalty is still ongoing. That process could take months before we know if prosecutors will seek it. In the meantime, the defense team led by Bill Nettles and John Warren is building their case. They're likely working on mitigation evidence, challenging the RICO allegations, and preparing for what could be a lengthy trial. Word is the trial itself could be a year or more away. RICO cases are massive. The amount of evidence prosecutors have to organize, the number of witnesses, the complexity of proving an enterprise existed, all of that takes time. Defense attorneys need time to review everything and build their defense. Federal cases move slower than state cases, and capital-eligible cases move even slower. Pre-trial motions are coming. The defense will file motions to suppress evidence, challenge the charges, possibly try to separate some charges from others. Each of those motions requires hearings. The judge has to rule on everything. This is a marathon, not a sprint. His co-defendants' cases are moving forward too. With two already pleading guilty and waiting on sentencing, and one still fighting the charges, there's a lot happening simultaneously. If Harris and Smith cooperate with prosecutors as part of their plea deals, that's bad news for Zacc because federal cooperators are powerful witnesses. Fans are still watching every development. Every court date gets attention. Every time new documents drop, hip-hop media analyzes them. People are debating in comments whether he's guilty, whether RICO charges are being overused, whether the feds are targeting rappers specifically. The comparison to Young Thug's case keeps coming up. Thug's YSL RICO case in Atlanta dominated headlines for years. Prosecutors used lyrics as evidence. The trial became a spectacle. Eventually, Thug took a plea deal. People are wondering if Zacc's situation will follow a similar path, or if he'll fight all the way to trial. Industry insiders say this case is being watched closely because it could set precedents. If prosecutors successfully argue that a record label was actually a gang enterprise, that opens the door for similar cases against other artists. The hip-hop community's worried about where this trend leads. What started as a local rapper building an independent empire turned into a federal case that could result in the most severe punishment under U.S. law. From dropping mixtapes in his stepfather's kitchen studio to signing with Interscope, from building Dirty Money Entertainment to facing allegations it was a criminal enterprise, from celebrating the birth of his his child with Rennie Rucci to sitting in federal custody, Zacc's story took a turn nobody saw coming. The financial impact on everyone connected to Zacc extends beyond just him. Artists who were signed to Dirty Money Entertainment now face uncertainty about their careers. Producers who worked with him might distance themselves to avoid association. Venues that booked him for shows lost that revenue stream. The ripple effects touch everyone in his circle. His legal team faces a massive challenge. Bill Nettles has experience, but defending a capital-eligible RICO case requires resources most people can't imagine. Expert witnesses cost tens of thousands of dollars. Investigators need to be hired to challenge the prosecution's evidence. Forensic analysts might be needed to dispute digital evidence. Private attorneys in cases like this can run into the millions of dollars in fees. The psychological toll on Zacc himself is something people don't talk about enough. Sitting in Spartanburg County Jail, knowing prosecutors are reviewing whether to seek the ultimate penalty, waiting months or years for trial, that breaks people down. Federal detention is isolating. You're away from family, from your kids, from everything familiar. The stress of fighting for your life in court while locked up 23 hours a day is unimaginable. For Rennie Rucci, the situation puts her in an impossible position. She's got a baby who needs their father. She's building her own career on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. The public's watching her every move, judging whether she stands by him or distances herself. There's no right answer when your child's father is facing charges this serious. Whatever she decides, people will criticize. The South Carolina hip-hop scene itself took a hit from this. Columbia was finally getting recognition with Zacc breaking through nationally. Other artists from the state were hoping to ride that wave. Now, the biggest name from SC is sitting in federal custody, and the attention on the scene is negative. That makes it harder for everyone else trying to make it out. Record labels across the industry are paying attention too. When prosecutors can argue that a label is actually a criminal enterprise, that creates legal liability concerns for everyone. Major labels already have extensive vetting processes for new signings. This case might make them even more cautious about signing artists with certain backgrounds or associations. The situation shows how quickly everything can change in hip-hop. One day you're the self-proclaimed richest rapper in South Carolina. You've got plaques on the wall, features with major artists, a baby with your girlfriend who's on reality TV. The next day, federal marshals are putting cuffs on you, and prosecutors are considering whether you should face the most extreme consequences possible. This case touches on everything happening in hip-hop right now. The tension between street credibility and legal vulnerability, the use of lyrics and social media as evidence, the application of RICO laws to the music industry, the federal government's increased scrutiny of artists, the fine line between running a successful independent label and catching conspiracy charges. For Zacc's family, especially Rennie and their baby, the situation's devastating. For his fans, it's shocking. For the prosecution, it's about dismantling what they allege is a violent criminal organization. For the defense, it's about proving a rapper built a legitimate business, and the feds are overreaching. For the hip-hop community, it's another example of how the legal system treats artists in this genre. Keep your eyes on this case because it's far from over. The DOJ review could take months. The trial could be over a year away. Co-defendants are getting sentenced soon, and their cooperation could change everything. New evidence could emerge. Motions will be filed. Every development will make headlines. What this really shows you is how the federal system works. When they decide to target someone, RICO gives them tools to build massive cases. Capitol Review adds pressure. Cooperating witnesses strengthen their position. The resources of the federal government versus even a successful independent artist aren't close to equal. So that's where we're at with this whole situation. Blacc Zacc's sitting in Spartanburg County Jail. Bill Nettles and John Warren are building his defense. Federal prosecutors are deciding whether to seek the ultimate penalty. Co-defendants are cooperating. Fans are watching. The industry's paying attention. And a case that started with allegations from 2021 could determine the entire rest of one man's existence. Let me know what you think about this situation in the comments. Do you think RICO charges are being overused in hip-hop? Should prosecutors be able to use lyrics as evidence? Is the federal government targeting artists specifically? Drop your thoughts below. More updates coming as this develops. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything on this case. We'll be covering every major development, every court date, every new piece of information that comes out. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.